So this is the third. These are three things. So first one was vehicle. First one was mobile ad hoc network, which is called as MANET. Second one is called as vehicular ad hoc network, which is called as VANET. And there is a third type. Okay. So third type is called as ad hoc wireless sensor network. And my master's was there, master degree during that this wireless sensor network. So it's a kind of 15-20 years old technology, wireless sensor network. But yes, a lot of applications are there and a lot of improvements are continuously going on. So we'll call it WSN. You please remember this short forms: MANET, VANET, WSN. And what is the fourth type of network? It is called as wireless ad hoc mesh type of network. So the fourth one is also a wireless ad hoc network, but it is a mesh network. Mesh network means the density of communication nodes in this case is very high. So this is called as WMN. Now you can take the screenshot of these things. So these are the mainly four types of wireless ad hoc networks. So first is mobile ad hoc networks. There can be many applications. It can be having some kind of military application. It can be having some kind of defense application. So all those things are there for MANET. Second one is vehicular ad hoc network. So on each vehicle is a node. So in each vehicle we are putting some kind of node, and it is a very specific kind of application that is called as VANET. Third one is ad hoc wireless sensor network, and maximum number of applications we can find there for WSN. And fourth one is very less used. This is called wireless ad hoc network, but in mesh configuration. So this is highly dense kind of a network that is called as WMN. Okay, so this is the introductory lecture. Hence, I am just taking you or giving you introduction for all these very simple things. And later on, we will be only using the abbreviations. So please be careful to remember all the abbreviations. Okay, so now let us see all these four things step by step. The first one, this is called as MANET. This is heterogeneous type of network. You can see this diagram. In this diagram also it is shown that some mobile phones are there, some laptop is there, some nodes is there, some palm top is there. All those things are there. So all different kinds of devices put together, and they are having mobility. Okay, hence this is called as a heterogeneous network, and this is called as mobile ad hoc network. Okay, while mobile network, because each or some of the node can be having movement, that's why it is called mobile. And why ad hoc network? Because you can see that there is no base station. Base station less, or there is no base station means there is no centralized control for this thing, and that's why it is called as a ad hoc network. So very important thing, and most widely used, second most widely used, let us say, network of ad hoc type, that is called as MANET. And what are the characteristics of these things? First characteristic is CHOP, self chop. So this is another thing you just write down. What is meant by self chop characteristic of mobile ad hoc networks? So it's an infrastructure less, because there is a centralized base station, and there are different heterogeneous kind of devices which are connected, and this is having a self chop characteristic. It can self configure. So what is the full form of chop? It can self configure. That means if you're just putting some nodes, 510 laptops, 510 mobiles, and all those things, you can just put in one place, and then you ask them to configure yourself and make a network. It is possible. So each of those nodes, each of these devices, by using some communication protocol, they will be talking to each other. They will be transmitting and receiving data with each other. They will prepare a network, and they will self configure. Okay, so like 15 students are put in the class, and I ask you just, okay, sit in a circular fashion. So you just look at each other, and you just make a circle, and you sit in a circular fashion. So that is called as self configuration. Whenever many nodes are put in one place, and we ask, okay, self configure. Self configure means each node tries to communicate with each other, and they set up protocol for that. So that is a called as self configuration. Self heal. What is meant by self heal? Suppose there are three paths. Suppose this is the transmitter, and this is the receiver. So one node to the other node, from transmitter node to the receiver node, one path is being used initially. Okay, one path is being used initially, and one node in that path suddenly goes bad. Suppose this node suddenly goes bad, it is exhausted its battery. So if this is a transmitter node, and this computer is the receiver node. Previously data was being transmitted by this outer path. Now after some time what happens is this peer node is down. This peer node is down because battery in this peer node is exhausted. But then also this data transmission from this transmitter to this receiver will not be stopped. What will happen is this will find out a reroute, or this will find a different path. So from here the data will come to this node. From this node, previously it was going in this direction, now it will give in the centralized direction, and through this it will be relayed to the receiver. So previously it was having 3 hops. Now in this case, when this outer node is down, this will be having 1, 2, 3 hops, but a different path, and data will be transmitted from the transmitter to the receiver. So this is called as self heal. What is meant by healing? Healing is nothing but if one path goes bad, another path comes up. Inside our body also veins are there. Veins actually takes the blood from farther portion towards heart. Okay, so from leg towards heart, whatever carbon dioxide mixed blood comes, that actually flows up through the vein. And if one vein gets choked, there is a bypass vein beside it, it comes up. Not every time, but there are a lot of bypass veins, so that is called redundancy. There are a lot of bypass veins in our body. So if one vein goes bad or one vein just dries out, there is another vein which comes up, which takes the blood in a bypass fashion and takes it to the heart. It is possible. So if one device goes bad, another device comes into picture, and the data is transmitted from the transmitter to the receiver with a rerouted path. This is called as self-healing. Healing means getting better. Okay, medically. Okay, healing means getting better. So one thing has gone bad, you cannot repair it. So what you can do is you can change the path so that the path is healed and purpose is solved. Self-optimize. So this is the full form of CHOP. C stands for configure, self-configure. H stands for heal. Third thing is self-optimize. What is meant by self-optimize? Suppose one sensor node is having less battery in it. Then what the other nodes will do is the other nodes will not transmit too much data through that node. Then the other nodes will use a different path from the transmitter to the receiver. So these concepts are very important to understand, but in some book directly you won't be finding it. So you have to understand it and you have to remember it. So suppose one path, suppose this again the same node, it is having only 20% battery remaining in it. Previously, this transmitter was sending the data to this receiver through this node, and this node is kind of exhausted. It's having only 10% or 20% battery remaining. It is not dead. So I'm not talking about self-healing. Now what I'm talking about is self-optimize. So what this network will do now, network will understand there is the state of charge, SOC. State of charge is very less in this node. So what it will do is this node will not transmit the data through this node anymore. So what will happen is now the data will be transmitted from here to here, here to here, maybe here to here, and then to the destination. So whichever is a very weak node, whichever node has gone bad or almost dead, that node will not be used. So path is optimized here. So communication path is optimized here. Sometimes what happens is from the transmitter to receiver, one path is having 5 hops, okay, and another path is having 3 hops. Then comes optimization. So for 5 hops, it will be taking more energy. For 3 hops, it will be taking less energy. So if the transmitter is having very less energy in it, then it will avoid the 5 hop thing. It will be following the 3 hop path and send the data from the transmitter to the receiver. So that is called as self-optimize. And there is something called as a self-protect. Self-protect means some nodes, some central nodes, suppose it is there, it will not overcrowd itself. This node will see that suppose every path from the transmitter to receiver will be crossing through the central node for a shorter path from the transmitter to the receiver. But this node, central node, is also having its own say. It will say that no, I am being overburdened. Every route, every path is taking me into consideration. So I am not going to be the part of all the paths. I only want to be the part of every path. Example, In some division, some student is there, he is so good or she is so good that they are part of every committee. Okay, in that case, that person becomes too much exhausted. That person becomes overused. But he can always say that he can always protect himself. He can say that, okay, I will be only part of 5 different committees and not more than 5. So you can see from transmitter to receiver, this node can be part of many routes. Okay, but this node will decide that I'm not going to be part of more than 3 routes. Okay, that way it can reduce its work. That way it can protect itself. Okay, so there are many ways of self protection. This is just one I have explained. Self protection can also be protecting its own energy. Remember, for every transmitter and reception, the energy is required from the node, and that energy is coming from the battery that is within the node. And the battery, we cannot put every day and put battery in the node. It is not possible. So once battery is put in the node, it has to run for a long time. So whatever programming we are doing, whatever codes we are writing to run the node, to do all this communication and all those things, that code has to be energy efficient. So in sensor network also there is a special design, that is energy efficient sensor network. Why energy efficient sensor network? Because we cannot every day go and change the battery of a sensor node. Okay, so sometimes some node says that I'm not going to transmit any data because transmission requires a lot of data. So some node can say that yes, my energy is very limited, I'm having only 20% of my energy left with me, so now I'm not going to do any kind of data transmission. So if data receiving is there, I will do that, but data transmission part I will not do. So this is the way the node can protect itself. So this CHOP, there are few cases. I'll rather write it and I'll post it to your group. Okay. So different kinds of chop thing is there. So you just remember these things. What is meant by chop, self chop? So it is self configure, self heal, self optimize, and self protect. This is the characteristics of mobile ad hoc network nodes. There are some more features of MANET nodes. It is saying it is highly dynamic topology and frequent link change. Frequent link change means when this node is here, at that time this is a communication link. But suddenly if this node comes at the top, at that time this link is gone. So depending on the mobility or movement of the node, the communication links are reoriented every time, and very fast they are getting reoriented. That's why it is saying highly dynamic topology with frequent link position change. Nodes act as router to forward the packets from one place to the other. So intermediate nodes or peer nodes, they are acting as a router. They are only deciding the path for the next hop. Okay, so there are two ways. Either one transmitter thinks that okay, these are the two nodes through which I'll send the data packet from myself to the receiver. This is one way, that this sensor node itself is deciding the whole other peer node and deciding the path or routing path. This is one way. Second way is this node is just saying who is surrounding to me. In this node surrounding, there is one node, there is two node, and there is 3 nodes. So this node will not be sending data to here, or this node will decide I'll send the data to this node only, which is immediate, and my job is over. So the sender node does not decide the whole path. Sender node just decides the next hop path. Where am I going to send? I'm going to send here. Then this node sees what is the destination. Destination is this one. So where can I send it? I can send the data to left. I can send the data to forward. What is the closest path? Closest path is forward. So then next hop data is decided. Then this node decides the next route. It will be sending the data to the left, and the data will reach to the destination. So that is called as every node acts as a router. Every node decides where the packet will be sent next. So that is the second type of routing. There is a second type of characteristic of the system that we can find out. Okay. Now there is coming a third type, that is MANET enable a spatial spectrum reuse due to limited bandwidth of each node. See, bandwidth is a very important consideration in case of any kind of a network. More is the bandwidth, more data or more volume of data we can transmit from the transmitter to the receiver. So that always we have to remember that the system should not be bandwidth constrained. So more is the bandwidth, more amount of data I can transmit, or one node can transmit from the transmitter to the receiver. But not every time huge bandwidth is available. And for this ad hoc network, always we are finding that ad hoc network is a bandwidth constrained network. There is always the scarcity of bandwidth. Okay, I am having this much, suppose 1 unit of bandwidth, that has to be divided among all these nodes. So each node is allocated some bandwidth. Okay, and more is the number of nodes within the network, each node will be allocated lesser amount of bandwidth. So spatial spectrum reuse is a technique by which the same bandwidth can be used by different sensor nodes at the same time. So MANET enables that. So spatial spectrum reuse is a technique due to which the bandwidth saving can be achieved. Okay. So these are some of the characteristics of mobile ad hoc network or MANET. Let us see the next type of network or next type of application of ad hoc thing. It is called as VANET. You can see that there are 4 cars which are shown, and there are some kind of RSU. So this RSU is not base station. This RSU is called as roadside access unit. So this is kind of a semi access point. So these are called RSU, is called semi kind of a control point. So they are called roadside access unit. All these vehicles are having circuit board inside them, and all these boards are having connection between these RSU and the vehicle. So this vehicle is connected to other vehicles, and this vehicle is connected to the RSU also when this vehicle comes closer to this RSU. Okay. So communication to V2V. V2V means vehicle to vehicle communication. So there are all protocols are there for vehicle to vehicle communication. All vehicles are fitted with OBU or onboard communication unit. So by using onboard communication unit, every onboard communication unit is having its own ID. Okay, so each vehicle is having its number connected to that onboard communication unit ID. And so there are 6 things I can find. There are 6 communication unit. There are 2 RSU. They also can communicate with each other, and there are 4 vehicles. So this whole communication thing you can say as forming a VANET or vehicular ad hoc network. What are the features? The main feature is it has to be very intelligent. Okay, so from where to take the data, where to transmit the data, how fast the data access should happen, and each 2 vehicle, if they are communicating with each other, the whole system becomes very smart. Okay, so one vehicle is saying that yes, there is an accident happened ahead, so it will be sending it the information to the vehicle which is back, that is there is an accident or there is a landslide ahead, you please go slow. Okay, or maybe it's raining very high at one place, so you are coming to this road, so please take care because it's very raining. Okay, or there is fog. Okay, road is visibility is not proper, so please take care. So these are the information which can be transmitted from one vehicle to the other vehicle, and V2V communication can be used for that. Same information can be passed uh, by from one vehicle to the other vehicle if the 2 vehicles are close by. So yellow lines are for direct communication. Sometimes if they are very far off 2 vehicles, then the same message can be routed through the roadside access unit. So roadside access unit is kind of a access point or semi access point or semi base station in case of this VANET. So first feature is key component intelligent transportation system, ITS. So this is a very important concept for vehicle kind of a transportation system. They're intelligent. Intelligent means they can take their own decision. Spontaneous data exchange between the vehicles. So if the vehicles are close by, then they will talk directly. If the vehicles are far off, then they will talk through the reflector, and reflector is nothing but roadside access unit. Short range communication, WLAN is possible for V2V, and if it is long range communication, then we will be using RF and all. So sometimes we are using Wi-Fi, sometimes we are using Bluetooth, sometimes we are using RF. That depends on what are the distance between 2 cars. If they are very close by, we can use Bluetooth, we can use Wi-Fi. If the 2 vehicles are far off and we are using communication through RSU, then we will use RF communication for that. And this also uses cellular communication like LTE long-term evolution for that. That means the mobile phone towers can be also taken into consideration for communication between two vehicles. So these are the VANET features, very important questions which are asked continuously in the exams. What is LTE? You all are using LTE in your mobile phone. 4G, 5G is coming. Okay. So what we say is, in case of LTE, what we find is it's a 4G wireless communication. It's a standard actually which is developed by third generation partnership project 3GPP. It is designed to provide up to 10 times the speed of 3G network. So 3G to 4G, as soon as we jump, we find that if you are using LTE, 4G is almost 10 times faster than 3G. Okay. Hence, we can transmit the video, audio, and all those things very easily in case of 4G. Giving hotspot, connecting laptops, connecting tabletops, netbooks, all those things are very easy in 4G because of this LTE characteristics. Okay. What are the difference between VANET and MANET? That is another important question. So much greater mobility than MANET, because VANET is faster. This is one thing you have to remember. VANET is very fast, or compared a lot faster than MANET, because MANET is moving network, but MANET is maybe somebody is walking with a mobile phone in his hand, okay, or maybe a node, or maybe it's a with some kind of cart, okay, in a shopping mall. So that is actually forming a kind of a MANET. But VANET means this is car, okay, and a car can have a speed of 130 kilometer, 140 kilometer per hour. So difference between MANET and VANET, I have mentioned two. There can be more found from the books. First and most important difference is the MANET is a lot slower than VANET, or you can say VANET is a lot faster than MANET, because VANET is for car. And second is MANET is more predictable, its mobility. Okay, but VANET is uh, is less predictable, because the car can take any. So VANET, what we are saying is it's more predictable mobility than MANET, because car has to follow a certain path. Okay, but MANET, with a mobile in your hand, you can go in any direction. Okay, you can go any direction. Okay, but whenever it is VANET, you cannot go in any direction. You have to follow a path only. Okay, so these are two differences. VANET is more faster. VANET is having higher mobility, and VANET is more predictable, because VANET goes along with the road. You cannot take any turn, and you cannot go anywhere, okay, on the road. So these are the mainly two advantages of VANET over MANET. Vehicular ad hoc network, there are some more features. Components of VANET, as was shown in the previous slide, it is OBU. That is the, what was the OBU? Onboard unit. So these are the circuits which is connected with the vehicle, and between two vehicles, the OBUs actually talk to each other, and that is called V2V communication, vehicle to vehicle communication. What is RSU? RSU actually keeps the vehicle connected to the outside world. So RSU is nothing but kind of a base station for vehicle to vehicle communication. Communication technology, a special communication technology is designed by US scientists. It's called WAVE. It's called wireless access in vehicular environment. So WAVE is a communication technology like Bluetooth and like Zigbee, but this WAVE is mainly used for multi-hop communication between vehicles only. Okay, so remember this 10th slide. There is something called as WAVE, WAVE, wireless access in vehicular environment. This is a protocol, or this is a communication which is devised mainly for vehicular communication, fast multi-hop vehicular communication. And what is the standard? IEEE 1609.2 or DSRC 802.11p. These are the IEEE standard for VANET, or vehicular ad hoc network. So we are actually seeing different types of ad hoc networks. There are mainly two we have found so far. One is called as MANET, another is called as VANET. What are the advantages and application of VANETs? It's a cooperative driving, so you can get information from the driver who is ahead of you, or is, you can give message to the driver who is behind you. about any kind of accidents, about any kind of information that is there. So information sharing becomes easier, navigation becomes easier, finding some people who is lost, that becomes easier. So it's a smart kind of driving, it's a smart kind of vehicular communication if we are using VANET. Information sharing and media streaming. Yes, suppose you are having video in your a car, you want to show the same video with the persons who is there in a car which is maybe 10 kilometers down the line. You can share it. Okay, that is also possible. And value-added services like on-road internet access, navigation, on-road toll, hiking, and other thing. So all those can be done by using the VANET. Okay, so there's a second type of relationship. This is the second type of ad hoc network, and there's a very important slide. I'd ask you to take the screenshot of this slide. What is the difference between MANET and VANET? So if you see cost of deployment wise, MANET is cheaper and VANET is costlier. Mobility, as we have already decided or discussed, VANET is highly mobile compared to MANET. Frequency of operation, most important thing, please remember. Okay, frequency of operation and communication paradigm. So for MANET, we are using 802.11 ad hoc type of communication protocol. We are not using Zigbee or Bluetooth in MANET or VANET. So for MANET, we are using 802.11 ad hoc, and this is having 2.4 gigahertz frequency. But VANET is very fast, that's why it will be using higher frequency. It is using wave technology, and it is using 5.9 gigahertz. Okay, range of MANET 100 meters, range of VANET is around 1 kilometer. Partitioning of network. Partitioning characteristics in MANET is low and partitioning in VANET is frequent. So very fast we can lose contact, okay, between one vehicle to another vehicle, because they can go out of range and all. So that's why partitioning problem, it's a problem actually, partitioning. So network gets partitioned. It's frequent in case of VANET, it has to happen. Okay, MANET partitioning is less. Mode of operation, MANET is the infrastructure less network. There is no base station in case of MANET. It is a distributed kind of a network. It takes its own decision, self-configuration. That is the first C in CHOP, self-CHOP. First C is configuration. So MANET is self-configurable. But VANET, it is not self-configurable. Sometime it is, sometime it is not. Okay. So mode of operation in VANET, it is both with infrastructure and without infrastructure. So MANET always without infrastructure, but VANET, it can be with infrastructure and without infrastructure. What are the node movement patterns? This is also predictability. So predictability in MANET is very low. Movement of nodes in MANET is very less, very high and very random. Okay, but VANET, it is constrained by road. So if you know the road path, if you know that this is the road and this is the direction of the road, the VANET will not deviate. Okay, the cars will not deviate. It will not just go and enter a field or something beside the road. Generally, they don't. So VANET is more predictable. MANET is less predictable. Third thing, so I'll take some 4-5 minutes more. What is said is third. This is the third type of ad hoc network, and this was my master degree topic. We call it WSN, or wireless sensor network. Huge amount of application is there. Any field starting from they have said that tsunami detection to under subsurface oil detection to tidal wave detection. You can say to volcanic eruption detection. Then you can say forest fire detection, military application, border security, relief or distress kind of situation detection. Many applications is being having by the WSN. So wireless sensor network, huge amount of sensor nodes are densely deployed. So in case of MANET, VANET, maybe you are talking about 10s or 50 sensors, but in case of WSN, maybe 1,000 sensors we are deploying at the same time. So density of sensor node is very high. Number of sensor nodes is very high in case of WSN, and it senses mainly the surrounding environment. What is the temperature, what is light, what is air quality, what is vibration, what is sound quality. All those things in the surrounding temperature, surrounding environment is sensed by this wireless sensor network nodes. And some other specific applications also are there for this. The sensed information is sent back to the sync node. So sync node can be like a base station. Okay, so each node is just sensing the information and sending it back to the sync node. So sensors are not processing information. There's a very big difference between MANET, VANET and WSN. In MANET and VANET, the nodes are accepting, receiving or sensing the information, and it is doing local processing. But in case of wireless sensor networks, the nodes are not processing the information. Nodes are just sensing the information and sending it to the base station. And all the processing is being carried out at the base station. So third point is very important. Sensed information is sent back to the sync node. And at sync node, they are processed and inference is drawn. Okay. Fourth point, the sensor nodes in wireless sensor network, they use short range or radio transmission. Wireless nodes, so they have to use radio transmission. Short range hop length is little less in case of wireless sensor network. Collaboration among nodes happen with multi-hop propagation. So there are many nodes. I told you there are thousands of nodes, and they all talk to each other, and they are trying to find out what is the best path, how to transmit the information in a shortest time by using shortest or lowest energy. All those things are found out by collaboration. So WSN is a highly collaborative kind of a network. Okay. Intermediate nodes acts as relay or router for multi-hub transmission. Same thing we have seen in case of MANET also. Intermediate or peer nodes, they are acting as a router. WSN, the size of the nodes are very small. Okay, and they are having embedded OS. So Tiny OS is name of a operating system, which we find in case of all the nodes, which is there inside the sensor nodes in WSN. So WSN sensor nodes are comparatively smaller. The images are given at the below. You can see it can be kept on your fingertips. It can be some 10 or 15 sensor nodes. WSN sensor nodes can be kept on your hand. So there are some companies called as Exbo, Eco, Mote or Mote or Chow, ZS or Dots, Bark, Berkeley Mica modes. So all those things are different kind of sensor nodes which are developed by the different companies. Okay, so all nodes are designed to perform with minimum power consumption so that the battery fitted to it will be used for a longer period of time. So if the power consumption is less at that time, the node life is increased. This is a very important thing. So anything we are doing for WSN always will be saying that we are trying to reduce the power consumption. Power consumption reduction is required because it's a battery constrained network. If power is less, in that case battery life will be more, network life will be more. Nodes can perform unattended in autonomous environment. Just put some node in forest and to track number of tigers in the forest or to track what is the weather in that forest. Okay, so unattended and autonomous environment, they can take their own decision and they can perform continuously and they can sense data and send back. Okay, so nodes are deployed for sensing in adverse difficult areas. In border area, you can deploy this kind of thing. So you are in one side of the border, you can just throw some sensor nodes in the other side of the border. You cannot cross that border, but you can just throw that and you can do some kind of espionage. Okay, so in adverse difficult dangerous situation like coal mine, maybe flooded area, maybe some kind of relief operation is going on, in those kind of cases, wireless sensor network is having its very wide application. And the wireless sensor node can be both mobile and it can be stationary. Most of the time it is stationary, but there are mobile nodes also in case of wireless sensor network. So these are features. The slide number 12 is very important. You can take a screenshot, and these are all very specific features of wireless sensor network. Only thing you have to remember that density and quantity, number of sensor nodes in WSN is much higher than we had used in case of MANET and VANET. So these are some of the applications that WSN is doing: temperature, humidity, light, industrial air pressure, soil parameter, automobile, vibration sensing, and all. Last thing, last slide for today. This is called wireless mesh network. It is also having a lot of wireless network, but they are connected in a mesh configuration. It is somewhat like MANET, but density of the sensor nodes are quite high. Yes, I know time is over. This is the last slide, and If one of the link fails, then other points also can take it up, and they can do the self-healing, and they can transmit the information. Okay, so this thing I'll be showing, this is not very important, not very wide applications is there for WMN. Okay, but for broadband home networking, for enterprise networking, for MAN, that is metropolitan area networking, building automation, transportation system, you can use MAN and WMN. And next topic is ad hoc network and internet. We can do it now. So I'll stop here with the or with the fourth characteristic, or with the fourth type of wireless mesh network, or fourth type of ad hoc network, which is called as mesh network. So we have finished up to slide number 14. Slide number 15, that is ad hoc network and internet, will be started tomorrow. If you are having any doubts, you can either post the doubts here, or you can post the doubts later on to me. I will see how soon I can send the notes, how soon I can send all the slides to you. Okay, that's all. And every lecture will be having a different kind of a link. So tomorrow's link also is shared. So please check the group. Uh, uh, Third lecture, so this was second lecture, third lecture link is also sent to you. And as soon as I get the video for this lecture 1 and lecture 2, I will share those videos with you in the group itself. Okay, or I may email it to you. So let us see. Okay. So that's all from me today. Please be on time and please join on time, so that this 10 minutes delay at the end of every lecture can be minimized. Okay, thank you. That's all from me now. See you tomorrow. Tomorrow afternoon, the lecture is there. Please join 5 minutes before time. Thank you.